Welcome to the world's most fabulous people series. I am your host today. I am Tonya Hofmann, and I am so excited to introduce you to my friends that I get a chance to run over the world and meet so many incredibly fabulous people. And it's your chance to get to know them, follow them on social media, get really connected, because that's the most exciting part about this world of ours, is being connected to the right people, the people with heart and have real expertise and value that they can give you. So I've asked today for Rosemarie Barnes to come on and give us a little bit about how she is incredibly fabulous. So how are you today?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me on the show. What a fantastic day it is.
Yay! So tell us how fabulous, really, how does it feel to be that fabulous?
Being fabulous is actually quite humbling, because we're only as fabulous as people, as much as we can help people. There's no point in being fabulous in your own personal bubble, is there? You have to be fabulous with other people. So the way that I'm fabulous is I help people understand their own brilliance. I help them speak their own brilliance, and I help them find ways to communicate so strongly. If you cannot share a good idea, that's a bit of a sad thing. But if you can't share a brilliant idea, that's a tragedy. So my fabulousness is because I help people always know where their brilliance is and then how to share it.
Oh, I love that. Really, because don't you find that most people are hiding really how brilliant they really are?
Everyone has a spark of brilliance. Everyone. I don't care who they are. But they don't know it. They don't know it. And that's sad. Everybody is fabulous. They just don't know it. So when I speak to people, that's my job, is to help them ignite that. And then I help them speak it. You know, the problem is that where you are may not always be the place where your fabulous lives. So sometimes you actually get opportunities to reinvent who you are and find your fabulous, find your brilliance, and then be of service.
I love that. Now, everyone always asks me, and you probably get it too, well, have you always been this fabulous?
Oh, darling, of course. No. I have reinvented myself so many times. Tonya, I don't even know what I want to be when I grow up yet. No, fabulous was certainly not part of the equation. There was one point after I got married that I didn't have a clue what to do with me. I didn't know who I was, what I stood for, what my values were. I took a job as a receptionist. Now, you have to understand that I've got multiple university degrees. I've got a degree in music. I've got a degree in education. I've got a degree in drama. And there I was going, yeah. And I felt like gum under someone's shoes. I took a job, just because there were no jobs available at the time, as a receptionist for a university. Woo, there I am with 3 degrees and feeling smaller than, a shrimp in a whale's mouth. There was a man, though, there that saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. Up until that point, I had no idea anything to do with business. I was an artsy-fartsy, right? And I love that, and I own that, and I'm good at that. But he saw something else in me. So with his mentoring and guidance, I was able to create an entire department for the university, and it was a purchasing department. And I saved the university millions of dollars because this man helped me find my fabulous. I had no idea. None. We need people to help us find our fabulous. There are many times when fabulous wasn't part of the equation. When I was bullied to within an inch of my life and had a full-blown nervous breakdown as a young teenager, there was no fabulous then. But you have to reinvent yourself. You have to find your spark of brilliance, and you have to flame the fan the flame. You have to make it go.
That's awesome.
There is no, every time you need to reinvent yourself, whether it's because you've caused the change or someone has done it for you and helped you along, you have another opportunity to find fabulous. We fall. Oh my goodness, we fall. My son passed away 6 months ago at 31 years old from drug fentanyl.
Wow.
Let's talk about no fabulous there.
Right.
How do you come out of that and reestablish your confidence as a parent, as an individual, as a human being, that I couldn't be there for my son? And yet, we have to find it within ourselves to bloom again, to grow again. There are so many times when fabulous was not part of my equation. So how do you do it? How do you do it? Where do you find the courage? Where do you find the confidence to say, but wait, maybe this is just an avenue of brilliance I haven't explored yet. Stuff happens. And for good or bad, it's always an adventure, maybe a great one and maybe a horrific one. But you always have the choice to take it, leave it, or change it. You can take the stuff that's happening to you, or you can choose to leave it, ignore it. It's not happening to me. I'm going to stay where I am. Or you can choose to change the change.
Right.
You can reinvent, but it's not easy.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. So tell us a fabulous tip, that we can really, because obviously you've got so much deep knowledge that you've gone through personally, which is the type of people I really like to be around, is people that walk their actual talk, right? So tell us a great tip that you can give us today.
There are two strains of thought that I hang my hat on a little bit. One is that we all have our own GPS, like the car does, when we are off track. The GPS in the car might become a bit of a nag, but the GPS does not stand up and scream to the moon and the stars, "You've taken a wrong turn, you idiot." It doesn't do that. It calmly and quietly recalculating, and then it redirects, and then it allows us to refocus, and it steers us in the right way. Well, we all have our own GPS. We can choose to take review where we are, stand back a minute, have a look. Is it as horrible as we think it is? Is it as fabulous as we think it is? Take that step back and review where you are. Then we have to recalculate where we want to go. Decide which path we're going to take. Measure, weigh the pros and cons. So first you review, then you recalculate, and then you redirect your efforts. See, we don't often plan where we want to go, and it's a shame. It's not meditation, and it's not any of those things. It's simply having the wherewithal to think about where you are, where you want to be, and planning with the end in mind. Where do you want to go? Sometimes we're like the dryer sheet, just tumbling around in free fall, and whatever we land on, we might stick or we might float away again. But why do we not actually take 22 and a half seconds at the beginning of the day and say, where do I want to be at the end of the day? Let's review. All right, if that's my end goal, if, for example, I tell you that by the end of the day, I want to write another chapter of my book, then the road becomes clear as to what I have to do to get there. If, on the other hand, I don't really say that's what I'm going to do today, I may or may not get there. So you have to review your situation, then you have to recalculate how you're going to get there, and then you redirect your efforts that way. In that manner, you can always get to the goal that you set. If you are choosing reinvention, if you are choosing to become the cat instead of the litter box, you can make it that way, if only you direct your thoughts there.
That's amazing. So if you have that redirection, because I think that's a really big thing for most people, right? Is they just don't even look at even what direction that they're in. Like you're tumbling. I love that. The dryer sheet kind of sticks sometimes, and then it sticks on something. You're like, why is it stuck on this?
Yep. So you have to. It's a matter of becoming aware. But from where does this ability to take a step back and look? That all comes from your confidence level. Well, that sounds easy. Yeah, I'll be confident. Not so easy. So where does confidence come from? Primarily, I mean, there's a thousand things, but primarily confidence comes from knowing what you value, yes, but also to what lengths you will go to defend those values. Now, values change over your life. When you're a child, you may not value world peace because of your parameters, but over time, your values change, but some of your core values will see you through everything. My parents, who are now hedging 90, absolutely believe, live, breathe that every living thing has value. They taught that to me, and in turn, I taught that to my children. My father is a farmer. And sometimes you have to cull the herd because someone's sick. But when you have this value of life, that's an extremely difficult decision. I remember we were slaughtering chickens on the farm, and my father would catch each chicken and hold it gently, pet it, caress it, speak to it, thank it for what was about to happen and for putting food on his family's table as he walked it all the way to the slaughtering block. This is a core value that has seen him through his life. I think I overdid it when I was teaching my daughter. Trees are living things. Plants are living things. When you go and you break a branch off a tree, that's like scratching or cutting off someone's arm. And just as we have blood in our arms, I taught her that the sap in the tree is the lifeblood of the plant, and when you break it off, it's going to suffer. Well, we had a tree that sort of got mangled by winter kill. We tried to save it. We chopped off all the dead bits, and what we had left was, let's say, a character tree. We decided we had to chop it down. My daughter, who was 3 at the time, was completely beside herself that I, who had taught her to value every living thing, was now going to deliberately and, in her mind, viciously kill this tree. She couldn't breathe. She didn't know what to say. She was weeping. She values living things. At this moment, right at this moment, my daughter is raising a crow. A crow. She's passed these values on to her children. Now, they found this baby crow that still had eggshells sticking to it. And let me tell you that baby crows are not pretty.
Yeah.
They're naked and they're wet and they've got these huge beaks and it's nasty. But this crow was going to die, so they brought baby crow home and mommy, fix the crow. Oh, a baby crow is really small. And she's like, I'm too big. I'm going to kill it. I don't know anything about this. Blah, blah, blah. They have now had the crow for 6 months, and that crow brings them more joy. They have raised it Russell. Its name is Russell, as in Russell Crowe. And that silly bird brings that family more joy. She didn't have to decide to make to help the crow. Her values made that for her. She had no confidence to help that bird live, but her values said she had to try. That brings confidence. As soon as we know what those values are, the roads that they take us on become very clear. We also have to be open to those values changing.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people, that's a great point, is she didn't know she could raise a crow, right? And really bring it back from
The brink of death.
And so now you have this confidence because you're like, okay, I did it. Well, that's what most people, even speaking and doing all these great things, a lot of times we were like, oh, I can't do that. Well, because you've never done it before. If you go and do it, then you gives you the confidence, go, well, I did it before, so now I can obviously do it again, right?
And one of the best things to get you there is a mentor. So we can't do these things alone. We need knowledge, we need input, we need help, we need other people, and we need input from everywhere. So yes, we have our values that create our confidence, that allow us to change, and instead of being a dried up leaf in the wind getting blown across the street, now we're the willow tree that can bend and sway but still keep root. And so we have to be able to accept others' help.
Yeah, I love that.
And sometimes, go ahead.
So have you had an experience where maybe it was an embarrassing moment, or maybe it was, like a ooh moment that you really learned something powerful from?
Sometimes our childhood memories are the strongest ones. When I was in grade 2, I had a teacher who was about an inch away from retirement. And she was tired of the nonsense of children in grade 2. Now, there was a newfangled system that the schools were experimenting with, and it was called the acceleration system, where a small group of children was chosen to do a grade and a half a year instead of a grade to see if we could get them through. And I was one of those chosen few. Her way of dealing with this split classroom and split grade and split everything was that she would deal with one half of the class and the other half simply didn't exist. And then she'd switch. Well, it wasn't my class's turn. And I had to go to the bathroom. No amount of hand waving and back then you sat silently in classrooms. There was no interaction. It was independent work, do what you're told, or you got the strap. School was a very disciplinarian place. I was desperate. I was absolutely desperate. And there's no way she didn't see me. She chose, however, to stick to her rule. Well, nature took its course. And soon there was a puddle under my desk, and I was the ripe old age of 7. I was humiliated beyond belief. When it was high time for her to turn her attention back to us, she demanded to know what in the heck I thought I was doing, and she had known all her life that this split system was not going to work, and here she had babies that are being pushed ahead, and look, didn't I just prove that we were all babies in front of the whole room? She demanded that I get up and go outside so she could talk to me. Well, there I am, my clothes are wet. I'm dying 1,000 deaths. And she takes me outside and she proceeds to scream at me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At any rate, throughout this whole process, I was taught a great many things. Not all your influences have to be good to make a huge mark. I knew I would never treat another living thing that way, ever. To bring that amount of humiliation and shame on an individual is simply not acceptable. It's just not. So between my parents teaching me the value of life and this woman teaching me the value of respect and human, I just saw it as she was completely inhuman. She moved after that incident. She moved up her retirement. She was going to wait 2 years. She retired at the end of that year. Uh, the value, I had no confidence. After being treated like that, I had no semblance of dignity. This is not the way to be fabulous, but it is a value setting situation. And it does instill in a person the need to make sure that no one else ever feels like that again, ever. And it doesn't matter whether you're in grade 2 or you're 102, everyone has the right to dignity.
Exactly.
That's the value. And with that absolute confidence that I know that no one that I come up against will ever be treated like that. Now I have all manner of ways to move with that. I can now, with absolute certainty, and I will fight to the extreme end to make sure no one is ever treated like that. Mm-hmm. That becomes my ability to change and reinvent and go 1,000 directions, but still with that as a guide. And it's a pretty strong guide.
I love it. Yeah, I think we probably could all kind of relate to a story like that at some point, you know, where
Mm-hmm.
someone made, you know, you feel that was out of usually your control, you know, and people always like think it's weird that in the Public Speakers Association, I have my 2 rules. You have to be nice and you can't be perfect. And I just kicked out a lady because she wasn't nice and she expected me to be perfect, you know, but that came from that core value of being a kid and having a very similar situation. You know, you just got to be nice to people and encourage them and help them, you know.
Well, and she was in a hard spot. She had no idea how to deal with the situation. Mm-hmm. But you certainly don't deal with situations at the cost of people's dignity.
Exactly. So how would you like, do you have something fabulous you'd like to offer our incredible listeners today?
I would. I am writing a book called Confident Reinvention, Navigating Through Disruption. The book is mostly written, you know, aside from that chapter I said I was going to write. But what I would love to do is I would love to interview people who have gone through or who are attempting to go through some pretty major reinventions of their own, whether through their choice or whether it was thrust upon them. And I would absolutely love to put their story in the book. So all I would just go, yay, yippee, if people would get in touch with me so that we could talk about their journey and what it took for them to be successful and what their problems along the way were.
Oh, that's awesome. So how do they get in touch with you for that?
R. Barnes, BARNES, at confidentstages.com. And we can talk via Zoom, we can talk via phone, we can talk in person, we can do whatever it is for you to share your story. Please know that I will respect your story.
Nice. All right. Everyone. Oh, perfect. So get in touch with her immediately. R. Barnes with an E-S at the end at Confident Stages with an S. Is that correct?
Confidentstages.com.
Perfect. So just immediately email her, just like right now. Well, wait a few seconds. Okay. And then go and email her. So thank you, Rosemarie, for being on today. What an incredible value proposition you've given to everybody today to start moving into an incredible, confident, more them, right? Whoever they are.
Thank you for having me on. It is truly an honor to be associated with you in what you do, Tonya. And I think we can make the world an entirely better place with more of this sort of thing.
More fabulous people like yourself.
Fabulous people.
Alrighty, everyone. So please get in touch with Rosemarie and also have her on your shows, in your conferences, whatever you've got going on, because obviously she's a wealth of knowledge and someone that'd be amazing to bring in. So thank you for joining us here on the World's Most Fabulous People series. And please come back and listen to our next incredibly fabulous guest star, whoever that might be. That's always like, ooh, who is it going to be next time? So thank you, Rosemarie. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.